I'm Patrick Bailey with IQlist.com. Today is March 9th, 2020, and in this video I'm going to print out some miniatures on my Prusa Mini and show the results off. Now this was all prompted by a comment by Connor Carr where he said, I would be interested in seeing performance of a smaller nozzle for the FDM crowd. This would be a great printer for minis. Now in this video I'm not going to be doing the smaller nozzle. I'm going to keep the 0.4, but I'm going to do another video later on. So with that, let me talk about minis on the Prusa Mini. Okay, first a word of slight warning. My channel, I try to keep things pretty much G because, we're just teaching stuff, and so no swearing, no cussing, no gross things on here. Now we're going to be linking and maybe showing some things that people might consider PG. This can be very light, but there's some things where something might be a little bit, some of these miniatures are kind of like horror creatures, which they're not all that bad, but I just want to put that warning out there that some of these things might be... I could give a 2-year-old a nightmare, I guess, maybe. But just put that, you've been warned. But not much of a warning. But with that, so this got me interested. What is there out there in miniatures? This is not my world. So I don't do tabletop gaming, but I'm a geek. I've been around it. I'm aware of it. I'm not a guy who's painted stuff or done anything. And this is just not my world. So if I misuse some words, please forgive me. But I think it's fascinating and interesting because, I am a geek. I'm an old comic book geek, and I've done a lot of geeky things. And I've been around this, but not into it. So with that, I went looking around to see what's available on there, especially for an FDM printer. So I looked, and I found some cool stuff. So I went to My Mini Factory. So if you go here, you can go to Explore, and you can go down here to Tabletop Games. And I started looking through characters and different things, and there's a lot of interesting things in here. But as you start scrolling through here, most of these, there's problems. So like, for example, if I go look at this worm or look at this dragon, they look really cool. But if you've seen some of my other videos, I don't design anything like this by any means. I'm not an artist, but I try to design some functional things like a lemon battery. And I typically have a rule of thumb that I don't want to exceed 45 degrees, and I don't like doing supports if it can be helped. And if you look at this has to have supports, otherwise this is not going to get printed. I like having the possibility of doing supports, but when I design stuff, I try to avoid it as best I can. Where something like this would probably do a lot better with, the SLA printers, the goo printer, which I don't have a goo printer, and I think it's too complex for your beginners. But like, that looks awesome, but I don't know how the results are going to be when you have to do supports. Also, you look at this dragon, that dragon looks sweet, but unless it's printed in multiple parts, trying to do this with tons of supports. And so I kind of got a little disappointed, kind of going, man, this is going to be hard to find. I kept searching to try to find something that I could print. But I came across a group. These guys are awesome. Rocket Pig Games. It looks like, I don't know their exact history, but it looks like they were doing some interesting miniatures, and then they realized, hey, we want to make these more printable. So what I have done, so some of these things, like you can see some of these here, are not quite following those rules. But as you get lower, all of a sudden they start changing their tune. And all of a sudden there's a lot of these interesting designs that they purposely designed to print without supports. So with that in mind, let me show you some of the things to give you a clue. So here is this Necromancer, which I haven't printed this one out. Also, these cost money. This guy is $6. So I did spend a little bit of money to download some, but I didn't get this guy, which I think he looks pretty cool. But as an example, you see that book. The book is angled up and it's angled out. So this will probably print just fine because he's got those angles. You see, it looks like what they've done. This is a genius. It's hard to think about. How do you do the design, making sure that you can do these angles correctly so you don't have overhangs without looking like without limiting yourself, without looking like you're trying too hard. So they've done a lot of really cool models that look really well and that meet that criteria of not doing overhangs or not needing any supports. So a lot of these designs do not need supports. And if they need supports, they'll tell you in the description. So what I have done is I've downloaded two things. I've already printed them out. So one, I did download, and I'll get some better video of this later in the video, a little Medusa. Now this one, you can see her arms out. So she needs support. I guess they were doing this before, like you see, it's not support free. I guess maybe they started doing this and they realized there was this idea of adding supports, of trying to do it support less. Also, they have a Prusa i3 Mark III, so they test some of these things out, so pretty neat. But I wanted to show you this. This does print with supports. I did print it with supports. I want to show you what the result looks like and why I really don't like supports. But also, I bought this Dragon. So he's supposed to be actually very large. In fact, you might see him behind me, a large version. But I wanted to print him the same size to see how the results looked. They really look pretty sweet for that size. So I took them, shrunk them, and I will be doing another video showing the big one because I want to go over the numbers on the big one at some point. But this one, I'm just going to do the tiny guys. So because they cost money, I didn't download that many. I just downloaded the two. This one was $10. Other cool thing. Oh, this angel's cool. I want to go download that. So you can see these angel wings, rather than having wings that go out, they're going up at a good angle. So it looks really cool. And it's actually possible to do without having support. It's just really good. Also, here's their website, Rocket Pig Games. So you can go down here and check some things out. Also, they have a Patreon page. And also, they also did a Kickstarter last year. I don't know how often they do them. But they did a Kickstarter where you could put so much money in and get a bunch of designs. And if you're into this isn't my realm, but it looks like they have different Patreon levels where you could pay $9 a month and you get so many models per month that you get downloaded. And it goes up and up and you get more and more designs. So go check that out if that's your thing. But what they're trying to do from now on, I think, is trying to say, oh, right there, support free 3D printable miniatures. And they've done a really good job. So with that, I've already purchased them. So let me go. I've already printed them. But let me go show you how I prep them and then go over the details. Okay, so here is the Medusa. So I did not resize her. I left her as is and printed her out. Now, you have to have supports for her. And one of the problems with supports is trying to clean it up after the fact. Now, this is my first time doing it, so I didn't do a good job. I think I could do better going the second round. But you can see right down there, the bottom of her blade, I broke it. There was so much stuff in there, I'm trying to clean it out carefully, and I broke it. But I'm sure I could do it a second time and do a better job. For me, I don't like supports because they're just, if you can avoid it, there's just too much post-processing. So to prepare this, you got supports, and I would say support from the build plate. And if you slice it, there you go. You'll see in the video I'll show in the time lapse, you see all these supports it prints. And if you're new to 3D printing, supports are fine. In some cases, I want to avoid them typically. And also supports are kind of lightweight, so if you print them, they are easy to take off. They're not like you're breaking things apart. They're designed to be taken off. So they're not too bad, but still I try to avoid them because there's just all this mess to clean up. So there's that one. It did a pretty good job, and we'll do some close-ups on the detail with my camera. Impressive. If they could have done this supportless, it would have been really impressive. And that's where they're going with their other designs. So if I go back and say none, and so now I'll leave Medusa up there just as an example here to make sure I get the right size. Now if I go to the Dragon, Skeletal Werven, I totally mispronounced that. What the nice thing is they provided a couple of them. So there's a full one, and I'll bring him in here, which he is kind of big. Oh, not that one. That one's headless. So I'll do the whole. There we go. The whole one. And he fits on the Prusa Mini just perfectly. But I think I did a 30% size on him. Yeah, there you go. I'm trying to get him the same size, roughly, for comparison, as that. So I got him down to 30%, wiped her out. Oh, sorry, I messed her up. Backing up, I did not do these at 0.15. I'm doing them at 0.05 because I want to see what details I can get. Because my plan right now, and I'll show you the details on this in a close-up, I want to do 0.05 layers, and then I want to swap my nozzle out for 0.25 and do it again. Because I want to see on that 0.25, as fine as I can get, 0.05 and 0.25, how is it going to turn out? I think it's going to do, I mean, this looks pretty well as it is, and I think the 0.25 is just going to be that much better. So this one does not need supports. So 0.05, slice, and then export the G code, and then print it out. So it works really well. Oh, there's one thing I have against him, is he's facing backwards. So when I did it, I actually turned him around. And if you're unfamiliar how to do that, you can click on here and click on the rotate and turn him around. Because I want to see him when I print. You know, it's nice to see it that way. But anyway, so there he is. Prep the files, so export the G code, and next let me go over the numbers. Okay, the numbers. For the Medusa, it took 5 hours and 41 minutes to print. Now remember, this is at 0.05 per layer. It took 3.9 cents of electricity. And the Medusa herself weighs 0.008 kilograms. However, I threw away all the extra stuff support. So just to be overly cautious, I'm going to double that. So I'm going to say 0.016, which is way overboard. So at 20 cents per kilogram, this would be 32 cents. So overall, the print Medusa is 34 cents. Probably more like 28 cents, but we'll go a little high. Now for the tiny dragon. He's so cool. Now he took 7 hours and 57 minutes to print. He took 5.1 cents for electricity, and he weighs 0.008 kilograms. And at $20 per kilogram, that comes out to 16 cents worth of material. So total to print him is 21 cents. So they're pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with them. So with that, let me go try to do some close-up videos. Okay, so I'll try to show this off as best I can with my camera. So first up here is the Medusa. And you can see a lot of details, but you can also see where it's hard to post-process. So there's some, if I do this a couple more times, I know I could do it better as far as getting stuff off. But I'm pretty impressed with a lot of little details, all the scales, all that good stuff, her little rattle on the back, the sword. Now, I have not, aside from removing the supports, I have not done any post-processing. You can see a lot of wisp here. I'd probably hit it with a heat gun real quick, maybe sand it down a little bit, I'm not sure. But, it's done a pretty good job. I'm pretty impressed. And I bet you these same guys, if they went back and redid this model with the intention of not having supports, I bet you they could do it, and I bet you it would look really cool. Because the post-processing kind of harms it in my mind. So there's that one. Then there's the Bone Dragon, who, now watch, I'm going to have someone argue why it's not a dragon, it's a wyvern. But he just looks really cool. I have done no post-processing, so you can see there's some wisp on there. And again, I hit it with a heat gun, it'd be just fine. Okay, technical camera difficulties. But now, so here he is. He's pretty sweet. Now, no supports, no nothing. I haven't post-processed at all. You can see there's some wisps. So if I hit that with a heat gun, it would take that right out real quickly. And again, I've shrunk this, so it's intended to be big, but it's with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle at 0.05 millimeters per layer, and it looks really sweet. Now the big model, which I'll do a video on at some point, is the big one's intended to be done with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. And it worked out great, but shrinking it, might be a good, I bet you I can get a little more detail if I get a smaller nozzle, but I've never done a smaller nozzle. But even without a small nozzle, he's looking pretty decent. It's really good for what it is. I'm impressed. It's cool. A few interesting comments from my last video. John Smith suggested using black or gray filament so you can better see the imperfections. I think that would make a neat video to print 0.2 millimeter layers in white, black, and gray, and kind of like do a lineup to see how they compare. That sounds interesting. Also, Ron Schneider was asking about the seam setting. I answered it on the YouTubes. Blah 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 blah. Start over. A few interesting comments from my last video. John Smith suggested using black or gray filament so you can better see the imperfections. I think that would make a neat video. Print 0.2 millimeter layers on that pyramid and do it in white, black, and gray, and then do a lineup and see which ones are how easy to see the imperfections trying to do a video. Trying to do a video, could be it's hard to kind of get to show every little detail with the limited equipment I have. Another person, Ron Schneider, was asking about the seam setting. I answered that, and the default settings it was set to as nearest. Now, this gives me a chance to kind of get up on my soapbox and a few other things. One, for praise, for helping other people out with special settings. I, comment if I've done something wrong or there's some different ways to set things, make some suggestions. But also so if you say, hey, print would do a lot better by setting this setting, post that. It helps a lot of people out. But also explain what I'm doing. I am going to typically try to avoid doing special settings on my Prusa slicer because I'm of the mind I want to help the beginners. And so I want things to be easy and not complex. So I pretty much try to use the default settings and if there's a good reason not to, I try to go over that and show exactly what I do. And I try to keep that very limited because my hopes are as the printers get better and better and better and the slicers get better and better and better, that they will just figure out what the best settings to do are for your print. Maybe even artificial intelligence. So if we want more people to get into printing and make it needs to be simpler and simpler where I don't have to do every single setting. Now, I appreciate the fact that you can tweak every single setting. But just like automobiles, there's some people who are driving cars and they tweak every little thing, and some people just want to drive the car. So I appreciate where things are heading. So I kind of try to follow that. But I really appreciate when people come in and post a message and say, hey, do you know if you set this setting, it'll do a much better job? Because other people definitely need that. And also, there's stuff I need to learn because I didn't know about the seam settings. That's kind of cool. In my next video, I think I'm going to cover the Big Bone Dragon. So I have the Big Bone Dragon printed in 0.4 and 0.15 millimeter layers to kind of go over the details on that. It's really cool. And then after that, hopefully I'll get to the 0.25 millimeter nozzle with a small print and get to see how much detail it is. Anyway, lots of fun.